here we go.
How do we do this?
This got us in trouble yesterday.
Every day.
We live?
Somebody tell us.
Send me a text, Rob. We live, bro? We're live. Yeah, we're live. I see me there. Check it. What's up? Welcome back, Facebook. We're going to get this thing started pretty soon here because we got a big group of people coming over here to ride bikes. As I said yesterday, I have another special guest on the podcast today. Dylan Casey, old teammate of mine, good buddy of mine, and fellow we-doer. That's right, buddy. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Here in Aspen.
And Liz Kreutz is in here, too, but you can't see her. We stuffed her in the corner. Liz, just stick your face out just for a second so they see you.
Just so much love. Feeling the love. Hi, everybody.
A little farther this way.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, good. Now get back in the corner. God. We had this. Y'all check out Liz's Instagram stories. First of all, I'll apologize ahead of time because she's got those little lines at the top. She's got like 40 of them. It's so dumb.
And it's only 10:30.
I know, but
it's only 10:30.
It's 24 hours.
I'm talking. Anyways, there's this guy doing laps around the neighborhood with an Italian flag and like all these, and he's playing Italian music on his bike. It's pretty funny little stories. Just check. What's your handle there? At Liz Kreutz?
Yep.
At Liz Kreutz.
Yeah.
Kreu. Anyways, if you want to see the Italian dude.
He speaks pretty good Italian, too.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Wait, I'm put my thing on. I'm still all jacked up from having Troy Aikman in here yesterday.
That was pretty amazing.
Such a discussion. What a legend. Oh, wait. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wait, what stage was today? 19.
19.
Sure?
Positive.
Okay. All right, welcome back to the Stages Podcast. I'm Lance Armstrong. My buddy J.B. Hager, my co-host in the studio. Another old buddy, Dylan Casey. We're talking about stage 19 that went into Salon en Provence, I think. The longest stage of the tour. And what was, quite frankly, predictable and boring. So for most of the race, we went back and forth between the tour stage and the Open at Royal Birkdale, which was not boring. But the moral of the story is it ended up not being boring, JB. I mean, the ending...
It ended up being exciting, and it was a goof up. I was going to say a technicality.
No.
It was a complete strategic flub for a lot of the riders, except for two of them.
Well...
Yeah, but maybe Bossenhagen knew.
Well, we're going to get into that because I think this is something that we should break down. But to me, the highlights were, that acceleration he put. We'll get into the roundabout and how he chose to go on the right side, whether he had intel or what, and why the other guys went the other way. But for him, he got a little gap. He looked back, saw that he had the gap. Him and the other fella, Arndt or however you say it. And then he proceeds to ride him off the wheel. That is so hard to do when it's flat. Mm-hmm. Here's a guy that's gotten second or been second twice in two other stages, been painfully close, started the sprints late, just didn't have the timing. But for him to, wow, did he make it? I said it when he rode him off the wheel. That may be one of the most impressive things we've seen this 3 weeks. Yes, it's a flat day and it's a breakaway, but I'm just telling you, it's hard to ride a strong guy off the wheel. And he just said, I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that came to mind for me is Bosenhagen was probably, arguably, the strongest sprinter in the group. So you assume he's going to wait and just out sprint everyone in that lead group.
He had when you're in, whether you're with 10 guys or 20, and everybody there knows that you're the fastest guy, then you have the responsibility to try to keep that group together. If three guys jump off the front, they're all going to look at you. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a teammate, then he has to manage his energy. He has to pull them back, but he also has to save his energy because if it comes down to a 10-man sprint, but lo and behold, none of that happened.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're the guy in the group and all the responsibility of winning is on your shoulders, you have no choice but to chase every little move. There's no decisions.
And so by going, he just puts it more in his own control.
Yep.
Well, you see how many times in small groups when they come to the line, somebody loses because they hesitated or they're trying to hedge, whereas Bossenhagen's like, nope.
Well, before we get into, I just have to say this. Because we talked about it yesterday. George was in here yesterday. He thought that BMC would be well represented in the break. He thought that Greg Van Avermaet was his pick. The Italian guy just rolled by again. This is amazing. For those that are listening to the podcast, we talked about it on Facebook Live, but there is an Italian fan riding around the neighborhood with a big flag on his bike, blaring Italian music, speaking and screaming in Italian.
Cowbells.
He's just cowbells. He's just doing laps.
I think he wants to get on the podcast.
He does.
He is. He just got on
He's
it.
on.
True.
He's on.
We're not going to see him, but you can go to Liz Krutz's Instagram story and you'll see him. But anyways, for 20 guys to go, I have to say this. For a $30 million team that has done nothing in this tour, yes, they've had bad luck, but we're getting down to the days here where you got to do something. 20 guys go up the road. You got two of these, pro Conti French teams in Direct whatever and Fortuneo. They each put 3 guys in the move.
Yeah.
And the $30 million team can't get a guy in a 20-man break. That is terrible.
Well, not only that, but then they didn't get put on the front to pull all day, which I guarantee you back in the day, if we missed a break like that.
This is what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. What would you guys have been hearing in your ear from?
We talked about it yesterday. The director was like, okay, you missed the move. You got to pull.
All day.
You have no Team Sky, Merry Christmas, but you got to pull all day. But here's the thing. The fact that they didn't get one rider in there and the fact they didn't pull tells me one thing, and I'm going to make this real clear. Their morale within that team is 0. From the riders to the staff to the directors to the sponsors to the everybody. They're walking around with their head down. I mean,
what you're really saying is a high profile, well paid, well curated team missing a break like that is just inexcusable.
Well, also I think that it doesn't matter how much money you have or how big the budget is. If you have bad morale,
yep,
it doesn't matter.
I think that's the main thing. You're right. You could spend whatever you want, and you could. The morale is just shit, and so which was evidenced by the fact that even the directors look around and go, okay, we missed the move. Let's just drive around today.
Right. And you talk, that's the plan.
Yeah.
New strategy in your ear. We're just going to drive around.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned it going into today. You said look for some of the smaller teams. We talked about, George brought it up, the 11 teams that haven't had a stage win. That didn't happen today. But those smaller teams are like, we got to show something.
Dimension Data was one of those teams that didn't have a stage win.
But they got to show something.
Yeah.
They got to get some TV time.
They got their win.
Yeah.
But let's talk. The way it unfolded, I think, it was in watching it. Let me back up. Most roundabouts are straight. It's 50-50. You go left, you go right, you all end up in the same place. Some of them are 60-40, 70-30. Some of them are 75-25. Sometimes it's a hard right. It's a 90-degree turn to the right or the left. So obviously you got to go to the right. In the final of a race, those are the ones you really want to know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know in our day, Johan would have been on the radio, stay to the right. Mm-hmm. We know where's the quote unquote, no, not quote unquote. We know where the shortcut is. Stay right. So let's go to this. And I don't know how zoomed in we can get, but this is the race. Dave, can we see this? Yeah. Anyways, you get the idea. Here's the race book. And these are all the signs that they put up along the route. And they tell you to go left, they tell you to go right, they tell you when the road narrows, if there's speed bumps, if there's a tight bend. And on the roundabouts, they actually have roundabouts that says race on the left side, race on the right side. We watched the footage. We saw Bosenhagen and the other fella go to the right and get the shortcut.
Poor guy's going to be the other fella for the rest of the
day. Well, let me
I
feel
Arndt,
bad.
I think it's Arndt. Look him up. But you know, and I think
you get ridden off the reel like that. We don't get to remember your name.
Oh,
Nikias Arndt.
Arndt.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
But
because it was. Let me just finish this right quick. So,
yeah,
we watched them go to the right. whether or not they were told to go right, we don't know. If they were, that's brilliant. They should have been told.
Mm-hmm.
But as we rewound it and paused it, the gendarme, the cop standing there with the yellow flag waving people that there's a traffic island, like heads up, he is standing in front of this sign.
Which
So
would show that there's a shorter side.
Well, we couldn't.
Or they couldn't see the sign.
We couldn't see the sign. But that sign might have said go right. And then they all go right. But he's standing in front of the sign.
Yeah.
And so whether or not it was just blind luck or whether or not, they were told in their ear by the director,
Sure,
we don't know. But
you got to put yourself in the position of being lucky. That's half of it. But
Yep.
if I was in that group, I would have been spending a lot of time back at the car saying, okay, let me see the book. Show me the turns. Show me, I would want to know everything about the last couple K.
by the way, Dylan, I mean, don't think for a second that all these cars don't have iPads with.
That's what I'm saying.
Fully connected to a network, Google Earth. I mean, this is not. They can see all that.
Right.
They can see where the tree. There's one tree out. They know it all. They should know it all.
So it's writer's fault or the director's fault, or everybody should be covering their butts on this kind of stuff, this information.
Or just
Are they,
unlucky for the ones that went left that the cop was standing in front of the sign. I think, and as we rewound it on the coverage and pause, as soon as we got to the point where you might be able to see what the sign said, they cut to a different shot. So we don't know but he was definitely standing in front of the roundabout sign.
for those who didn't see it, a lot of people are listening to this podcast and not watching all the stages. How far was this from the finish? That roundabout?
2K?
2K?
Yeah,
1.5.
2K out, the breakaway, two guys take the short side and leapfrogged the whole breakaway by, 8 bike lengths maybe?
Well, they were towards the rear end of that group. They were maybe guy 6 and 7 or something. And they and we saw it from the helicopter angle, they probably got 20 yards, 20 meters, which is a lot, but that's not. But the thing is when they look back and they went, man, it was impressive.
Yeah.
And again, that's Bosenhagen just putting the hammer down.
When they got out of the roundabout, it was Nikias Arndt, and he's the one who put the hammer down. Bosenhagen was on the wheel. Then he came around and just floored it. And, I'm telling you, that acceleration on a flat, you just can't, at this level, at the professional level, dude.
Just riding him off the wheel.
Right off the wheel. That
was cool.
Yeah.
You were impressed by that.
Very.
All right. That was the excitement today where we weren't expecting it. Tomorrow is a very critical day, obviously.
Yep.
And I know you guys have a lot of thoughts on it. So, Dylan, jump all over this.
Yeah.
It's a time trial. It's a short time trial. Why is it such a short time trial?
Yeah, and it's 22.5 kilometers. I mean, most time trial stages in a Grand Tour are between 40 and 60K.
Yep.
So it's like right around the hour mark, which is hard, really hard.
So when they were mapping out this year's course, they apparently didn't want time trials to be a factor.
Right.
They wanted it to happen in the hills and midweek and earlier in the tour. Is that somewhat true, you think?
I mean, they had a Frenchman in Roman Bardet get second last year, who's now sitting second this year. They can, if you don't know this, they can pick whatever route they want. They could say we're going to ride around Paris for 22 days if they had a sprinter, and we could have 1 minute time bonuses every day. But they can customize the course. I do believe that there is favoritism in the sense that they also want to make for an exciting race, which credit to them. This has been exciting, in my opinion. It's close. Anything can happen. But they also, too, looking at it going, okay, our boy, what suits him? They absolutely think that way, which, hey, it's their race. They can do whatever they want. But one thing I will say about tomorrow's TT and that it's short, and this has really nothing to do with what is going to happen, or maybe it does. But for those who race bikes or race TTs and you could do short ones, you could do long ones. Sort of the standard distance in the United States is 40 kilometers. One thing that these guys will do tomorrow, when the TT is short, the warm-up is long.
Ooh, so long.
When the TT is long, the warm-up is short.
Yeah.
So they have to time it right from the warm-up, which tomorrow will be a longer warm-up, to get to the start house, to get to the ramp, you got to sit around for 3 or 4 minutes. It
That's
sucks.
what I was
It
wondering.
sucks.
And you start cooling down.
Yep.
There's just no way to stay
So
warm.
they got to, but my point is that this will be a longer warm up, and they got to get to the ramp because as soon as they roll down the ramp, is green light.
Yeah, you got to get the engine open.
There's no time to say, I'm going to ride into this and see how I feel. And
It's on.
It's on, like Donkey Kong, right away.
Do you think anyone can catch Froome with this short of a time trial outside of any sort of mistakes or mechanicals?
No.
It's not going to happen.
No, but somebody here is going to have an issue.
Somebody will have a great day, and somebody's going to have a bad day.
You mean physically or bad luck
Just
day?
something, flat tire, crash, maybe just totally empty.
Dylan,
off.
your hair is looking dope today.
Thanks,
dude.
bro.
Have we gotten comments about Dylan's hair? Bolchka, are there comments rolling
Shadows
in?
I got to give all the credit to my son. He's-
Exactly. His son is like the next David Beckham. You should see this kid's haircut. So Dylan modeled his hair after
Yeah,
his son.
Team Casey, man. Team
But
Casey.
I just think, when I say something's going to happen, I mean with something with one of these 3 guys.
Well, before the tour even started, a lot of people were pointing out this last time trial has, I learned a new word from you guys yesterday, schnock. It has a schnock in the middle.
It's got a good schnock in the middle.
Definitely.
And describe the schnock. What does that mean in a time trial to have to do a short, quick climb?
Well, time trials are all about rhythm. You got to find this right pace, and I just always think about in a time trial, it's kind of like economics. You have about so much money to spend, and you got to make sure you spend it in all the right places across that 22.5 kilometers. So they're going to be taking that little schnocker into consideration as they go. And then, you can see
Look at the map.
Look at how technical that is.
I mean, that is Dylan. If you're talking about rhythm, I see this,
You can't get in.
and I'm going, where do I get my rhythm?
Exactly. You don't.
But that's another reason the warm up tomorrow is critical. It has to be perfect, and these guys know what they're doing. It's not
They
the first
previewed it.
22-kilometer time trial they've done. They know how to warm up, but you got that rhythm is made a lot easier when you're ready. And this is, look at not to mention it's on the water. Who knows what the wind will be like?
But
It's an individual race, but still.
Talk about the day, Lance. Remember what these days were like, especially when you're high up in GC. What time do you go?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So exactly right. So most days start at noon.
Right, which is already late.
It's already late for most people start their training rides. There goes the Italian guy again. Most people start their training rides at 9 or 10, but yet the stages start at noon. Chris Froome is going to start at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a whole day to manage.
Yeah, but he's going to get up. He might ride the course in the morning. If I were him, I'd ride that course in the morning.
Yep.
One lap. He's probably already ridden it.
Is the course just completely closed off
Yep.
well in advance, and riders can get on it whenever they choose?
I would think so. I don't know how that works now, but assume it is. Even if you've ridden it 20 times, it ain't been closed to traffic. It's going to look different with no cars and the barriers.
And not at full speed.
Yeah, speed.
And so he's going to ride that course. They're all going to ride the course in the morning. They're all going to see each other out there riding the course in the morning. And then you got to go back and have lunch at some point. Probably if he starts at 5, he probably eats around 12 or 1. And then you just lay around. If I were him too, we talked about this in the opening time trial. Get in the car. Get behind.
Go watch.
He's going to go.
Sure.
He's going to go behind Kwiatkowski tomorrow.
Right.
You watch.
Get a good look at the course at speed.
Yep. And Kwiatkowski's going to go hard, or whoever he follows
Yeah.
has to go hard
To give him recon.
because his eyes have to see it at race pace.
And they'll do a debrief after, hey,
Yep.
set up for this corner, watch the exit on this corner. Coming around this one, there's going to be a little hill, so downshift.
Yep. That's right.
The wind's coming off this way. All those little details will matter tomorrow, especially in a short time trial.
Yep.
So, barring a mechanical, your predictions seem like this is wrapped up. Yes?
It's over. Barring the mechanical, I don't think they can catch Chris Froome. The one
Dangle one carrot
this
so everybody will tune in
Uran
tomorrow.
Bardet is not going to catch him. That's barring the accident or the problem or the issue. Uran, he can test. The Brits, they call it the test.
All right.
Yeah.
He's the only one who could threaten something.
Yeah, but I think that it's it's a very long shot. Somebody asked me today. We had a big group at the house watching the race. My buddy Michael Gamson actually asked. He said, if it gets close, if say it gets to 10 seconds, something happens and it's 10 seconds, will they actually race in Paris? You get time bonuses along the way. You have the bonuses on the finish line. I said, hell yeah, they'll race. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would think the chances that Roman Bardet is going to get up in the field sprint and mix it up for a 20, probably not going to, his chances aren't good there, but they will race.
For sure.
That was one of the questions that came in. If it's really, really tight going into the Champs-Élysées, can that be contested? Because there's always sort of this unwritten, it's more of a...
What happens if it's, 30-mile-an-hour winds, crosswinds? They're going to race it.
Has it ever changed on the last day?
The only time it ever changed is when in 1989 when they had the time trial.
The time trial
when
was
Greg
last.
LeMond beat Laurent Fignon. That's the only time. They never did that again.
No.
That's
Imagine being
exciting.
A Frenchman, or being like a.
Oh, they were devastated.
Oh,
that's like the field goal kick at the end of a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
All right, you guys want to tackle some questions, and then I want to.
But just before we get there, right quick, JB, a couple things. Yesterday we had record downloads, so I'm just like, look, I can't even talk. Like, I'm so appreciative. And the fact that you guys are listening and tuning in and downloading, watching right now, whatever, this shit just blows me away.
It is wild.
And so to you guys, thank you. To SeatGeek for coming on and sponsoring, to Life Size for sponsoring, to people, anybody who went to the store and essentially thank you. I mean, it's just been, we're all blown away.
We made press in Cambodia today.
And you never know when you make it, but when you're a headline in Cambodia, as the disgraced Lance Armstrong has a good podcast, I'm like, it's good to see I'm still disgraced in Cambodia. It's all good, Cambodia.
You know what? Before we jump into the questions, I was thinking it'd be fun, and I know you got to get to a ride here. I'm going to try to keep this tight. With Dylan here, it's pretty interesting because as I'm watching the tour, and a lot of names that are from your era. I'm talking you, Lance and Dylan. A lot of names from your era are now in director roles, team manager roles.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be great with Dylan here to talk about life after cycling because, a lot of these guys are retiring at 35, really, really young guys retiring. And some obviously stay in the industry.
Yep.
And a lot don't. Dylan being one of those who
did not,
who went into tech.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
Well, I think I was just lucky. It's easy to look back on it and say that I had it all planned out, but it was just lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. I was ambitious about starting a new career. Interestingly enough, I went to work at Google when I stopped racing on Postal, and the story I told when I was doing the interviews was I understood exactly what Google was trying to do because as an athlete, one of the things that I did is I got really frustrated with all of the race reports. Like I would go back and read the race report from whatever it was, and I'd be like, that didn't happen, or like you totally missed out the most significant thing that happened. So we got together with Chris Brewer, who at the time was, I think, managing Lance's website, and I got him to help me put my own website up. And there was no blogging tools back in the day, so I had to figure it out myself. But it was like, okay, I'm going to start basically producing my own content as a way to connect with people and kind of share stories. And, I started putting banner ads for my sponsors, and so I just kind of understood the model, and when I pitched it to Google, they're like, "Okay, let's give this kid a shot." So I was super lucky.
And he did all of this way back in 2013.
No,
Getting
2000.
your website. I know, I'm kidding.
When Dylan,
That was like the beginning of Google when you had to explain to people what Google was.
Oh, nobody knew what Google was.
Isn't that
when
wild?
Dylan said, "I'm going to work at Google," I thought, oh, they had an opening in a mailroom. Like, how's it? And then it was like, after like a month, I'm like, wait a minute, he ain't in the mailroom.
What?
Yeah.
And then up until a month or two ago, he's senior VP at Yahoo. This is, he's pretty impressive, man.
Do you guys have any like I said, a lot of guys stay in the industry, which is cool. But have there been guys that have just blown you away with what they've done after cycling? Besides Google boy over here?
No.
Nobody? Didn't
I don't know.
no?
I'm more shocked that I just see a tweet that, because O.J. Simpson's getting out of jail soon. The famous white Bronco, my buddy Darren Ravel tweets that. So Al Collins Bronco is going back on the auction block. Projected price $750,000 to $1 million.
Wow.
That's nuts. Anyways,
How was that bragging rights to say you have the OJ Bronco?
I don't know, but
all right, let's tackle some questions with both of you guys here.
Sorry.
I was just going to say the thing that I've always been fascinated by, and I think this is just kind of a common a narrative throughout my career in the tech industry, is just the way in which content is produced and the way content is consumed. And that's both whether it's user-generated, professionally produced, and that also includes ads, because in a lot of cases, the advertising is the content in and of itself. But I think what's really cool, much later than I think should have happened, is that we're starting to see a whole new medium and a whole new way to present a story around, the Tour de France in this case, because that's what this is really about. The Tour de France is just a 3-week story. And I think to the degree that we're creating new mediums and new ways to do it is really interesting, because I think everything's changing.
Well, you know what else is super interesting to me is just this event, this podcast, is allowing you guys to have a voice where, like, I remember when you first got on Twitter. I was actually, much like Google being a mystery, Lance was the first person to tell me about Twitter. It was that long ago. But so that was the beginning of being able to have your own voice as an athlete. And now you take it this far, it's shifted things for the media, right? And it's no secret you've had a bit adverse relationship with some media at times, right?
Really?
But
I think it's better now. I also.
But all these writers coming in now, they can, like we saw Taylor Finney, as goofy and funny as he is, he's sending out daily memos on video.
He's generating his own content.
Yeah.
And what he was doing was and I will just reveal this. I mean, he was just sending NBC the videos. I texted him. I said, Taylor, that is your content.
Yeah, put that on your site.
Do not, trust me, put it on. They will use it, and they will credit you that they don't just send it. This is 2017. You own that. We own this. Mm-hmm. So it's, and lo and behold, he ended up doing that. They're still going to use it.
Right.
But what's mind-blowing is that here we are in 2017, right? And the model around the production and delivery of content around the Tour de France has not changed at all. Not at all. I mean, yeah, they got a couple riders in the bunch riding around with GoPro cameras, and you see like little 30-second clips 3 days later. But who cares? Like, why?
That hasn't taken off, Dylan.
I know.
These bike cameras, they're not steady. They're not even using that because it's not good.
Well, but
could be good.
It could be,
but it's not there yet.
And we know why it's not. It has nothing to do with technology.
This is interesting because I know both of you guys talk about young riders that, come through your town and hang with you and you spend time with them on the bike. Do you end up advising them, both of you, on the business side of things? Because that's what you're essentially doing right now. You're telling young riders, take control of your own brand and content.
I know, but I don't know. But, I mean, I do know, but it's other than what I just said. But what I would say to them, and what I'll say here, is even if I've had me personally, I've had a very contentious relationship with the mainstream press, whether it's the Guardian or whether it's the New York Times or whether it's USA Today or whatever it is, to think that you're going to discard those people and not talk to them and fuck them, I'm going to create my own content and I'm going to go direct to the consumer, to my fan base. I tried that. Like I said the other day with Brailsford, I've seen the movie. Mm-hmm. It's got a really shitty ending. So these guys, while I think it's good to own your content like Taylor can do, that doesn't mean you can turn off or completely ignore or disregard mainstream, traditional, powerful press, because they still are very powerful.
But, so I, obviously 100% agree. I think the interesting examples of the evolution and emergence of new platforms and ways of consuming content are products like Medium, right, where this long-form publishing tools for anybody to reach an audience, or even in the case of this of sports and news business, the Players Tribune. I mean, they're completely changing the model. I mean, and I would argue that that's a professional news organization, but it's giving the athletes a voice and a way of interacting with the fans that wasn't possible before.
But right, I got it. I agree with all that. All I'm saying is that having lived the life that I've lived and had this relationship from good to bad to wherever it is today, you still have to. You got to dance with them. You can't just go to the Players Tribune and
Yeah, well, I think that the hard part is that it doesn't always feel like the media understands that all boats rise with the tide.
All right, maybe you guys need to do a keynote at Interbike next year about the business side of stuff.
They still have Interbike?
Oh. No. I think we can find a better conference to go talk to.
I don't think. Okay. Let's take a couple questions. I have to go ride my bike.
I know. He's getting edgy.
Edgy. I'm going to start packing my shit up here in a minute.
Thanks for the very enlightening and insightful podcast. Appreciate it. A few days ago, there was a question in regards to the tour being a team or individual sport. This made me wonder whatever happened to the team time trial.
Amazing question, and they brought it up in the broadcast today. They just don't do it very often anymore, and I think it's a shame. Having said that, it does throw the race off because there are teams that are so strong as a team, and it counts. By the way, if you don't know this or not, the time on the team time trial counts for individual time. So there are back in the day with Postal, we would just nuke these fools in the TTT, and I'd get 2-3 minutes on the Kelmays and the Euskadis. That's my 2 or 3 minutes, and what an advantage! And so they don't like doing that, probably for that very reason. But I will say this: people love it. They love seeing 9 guys lined up with
like a machine,
the highest tech setup that you could, and seeing that machine going down the road. It's beautiful to watch. So they're sitting there going, God, I know everybody loves it, but it changes the dynamic of the race completely. They could do it next year. We don't know. But I was always a fan of the team time trial. I loved it. Even going back to my amateur days when it was a 4-man. I mean, the Olympic format, the international format was a 4-man, 62-mile team time trial. And you talk about hard.
Yeah.
Buddy.
I remember it being a big story when they threw it in at you guys. I think they were trying to trip you guys up with that, thinking, oh, this American team won't dominate the team time trial. No.
I think that was...
Here's the thing. The TTT, even back in the day, way back in the day when Indurain was winning the tours and, he had great climber. He did, on paper, you say he's going to get smoked in the team time trial. What you didn't see is that he's Miguel Indurain, and he can basically just go to the front, not the whole time, but when he's on the front, they are going so fast that, they didn't do bad team. They didn't win them, but he didn't give up that much time to his rivals because so all you need is 1 or 2 guys that can smartly sit on the front. You don't want to get up there and immediately crank it to 35 miles an hour, but build into and just hold it and let the guys sit on. But it's a big tactical advantage if you look this tour with Team Sky with a team time trial.
That would kill them.
We wouldn't be talking about tomorrow.
Okay, then it makes sense not to do it if they're trying to shake things up, right?
I think they should do it.
Here's one last question. I know you got to go. Jay writes in, and this is just an interesting technical thing to maybe watch for with all the Froome mechanicals we've seen. It says, since Froome uses an oval chainring.
Yeah, O-rings.
Do you think it would be better if he did not shift off that big ring? They do have the little climb in the middle. And they point out, I remember Bobby Julich dropping a chain with a situation like that years ago.
He might try to keep it in the big chain ring, run like a 28 in the back or 30.
I don't know. I've never ridden O-ring, so I don't know if the shift quality is that much different. That's a good point, though. It might be. All I know is I don't care who you are or what your chain ring looks like tomorrow. When you shift, anybody that shifts on that climb tomorrow is stressing. That, and I'm only talking about when it shifts down. So at the bottom of the climb, if they're going for it is going to be a slow and deliberate. It's the most important shift they will make the entire tour. So, but I guess it's I don't. But he believes in those. Bradley Wiggins believed in those. I always looked at him and thought, is that? The
It
idea
seems like they kind of come and go over time.
It does. The Shimano made them with the BioPace 30 years ago. So the idea is that it, in any pedal stroke, nobody's pedal stroke is perfectly consistent. There are hot spots. So there are parts where there's, it's not a flat line. The power is not distributed equally throughout the pedal stroke. So the idea is that the oval ring helps redistribute that power to the pedals during am I saying this right? During the lower periods or the lower spots.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other new TT tech that we can look for tomorrow? Nothing's changed that much.
Well, let's go right back to, let's end with this. Let's go right. We talked at the beginning of this thing, and it was, the controversy and the drama about Chris Froome's skin suit and the patches and the badge.
I forgot about that. That seems like that was a year ago.
And then this French whiner came out and said they're cheating and it's 30 seconds. And I said at the start, I said, well, we're going to find out because at the end he may be wearing one that's not theirs.
Oh, and that's another thing.
So he'll be wearing the yellow, the race provided yellow skin suit that's not going to have
that's right
the stuff. So if Chris Froome loses 2 minutes tomorrow in the time trial,
we'll know there's something to that.
We'll know there's something up with those patches.
I forgot all about that. That's interesting.
I'm here to remind you these things. All right.
Well, he had the option of wearing yellow in the opening time trial, and he chose to wear his.
Of course, he
suit,
did.
right?
Yeah, you would.
Okay. Well, cool. If you want to hit up some merch, we got cool stuff in the We Do Shop, WeDoShop.com. I know people are clamoring for it. If you don't see what you want, sign up for an email, and you'll get notified when it gets replenished. Send those comments. We got 2 more days to cover, and so we love your comments and questions. Stages@WeDoSport.com, and the feed for anyone to subscribe is StagesPodcast.com.
Perfect. Thanks, y'all. See people pulling in.